The Something for the Weekend team have decided to take a wee break over the summer to enjoy the rain, midges, sun, downpours. Please delete as appropriate. It's not that there's nothing to podcast about, far from it, but it's a busy time with people off on holiday and doing different things, and it's almost impossible to get the whole gang together, even from their remote locations, to record the weekly show. That is, of course, not to say they haven't been busy, and they have recorded a few things in advance. This week's podcast takes you on a Calmac ferry, then a Basking Shark Scotland rib boat, as Kathie and fellow open water swimmers Jeanette, Sheldrick and Catriona Petit chat with Lorna Evans, one of the founders of a new charity called Seaful, whose mission is to encourage more people to get out on the ocean, fall in love with it, and keep it safe. Also on the journey was Seaful's other founder, Calmac, a world record stand-up paddleboarder, currently working her way around the wild Scottish coast, while her partner, James Appleton, captures it all on camera for a documentary.
So we're on our way to Col. We're in the Calmac canteen, and we're all sat around a table having coffee, and we're with Lorna Evans, who's ground support for Cal on her massive challenge to paddleboard her way around the Scottish coast.
Yes.
So, but Lorna, you're, as well as supporting Cal on this, you're actually involved in the charity, or you co-founded a charity, Seaful.
Yes, so Cal founded the charity Seafool. I am Chief Operations Officer, as we like to have acronyms, COO, and Cal is the CEO. So this charity Seafool is, the name, let me talk to you about the name first, is derived from mindfulness. So Seafool came from the name mindfulness, so we've kind of tossed and turned, lots of changes with regards to the name, because we originally wanted to call it the Vitamin C Project, but I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in a little while. So Seafool, we thought we love the sea and the oceans and mindfulness, so Seafool melded together, and now when we talk, we throw the word Seafool into our normal conversations on a day-to-day basis. So what that really to us is, obviously everyone has mental health, and everyone, or most people, have heard about the good things of being in cold water, as you ladies are fully aware, the good things that cold water can do for you. But obviously there's lots of people getting in the water and enjoying the mental health benefits from cold water, but we want to protect those areas. So as more and more people are using the cold water environments, we want to then be educating people around how they feel before and after using the waterways, but also then how they can then protect it. So we would love for everybody to love the water, but not everybody will. But if everyone can have an education and understand how to protect these environments and enjoy not just the water, but the marine life, animal life within the environments, it would just be fantastic. So yeah, that's kind of, in a nutshell, really basic, Seaful. So we've got the Vitamin C project that we're running underneath Seaful, which we're due to do our pilots at the end of July. Now our pilots are happening in Chalmarsh, at Chalmarsh Sailing Club, so that's not even an ocean.
Where is Chalmarsh? Where is
Shropshire,
Shropshire,
middle of the country, Shropshire, and they're running our pilots. And so the Vitamin C pilots is all about bringing people who may not have accessibility to the waterways, maybe people such as children and young people who perhaps have never experienced the sea, who haven't learnt to love it as the rest of us do, and bringing them to experience stand-up paddleboarding. Okay, so these people are going to be brought to
strike experience with people having to sort of balance on a paddleboard.
Well, originally it was just going to be stand-up paddleboarding for the Vitamin C project, but actually as we've looked at it and developed, our pilots are certainly stand-up paddleboarding, but we've actually been talking about snorkeling, rock crawling, mindfulness walks just along the coast for people that perhaps maybe not everyone is going to want to stand on a stand-up paddleboard, but we feel that everyone should be able to have access to the way it makes you feel. So mindfulness walks would be nice as well.
Absolutely. Is there such thing as belly boarding? That might be more my...
Oh yes. Now Cal loves a belly board. So yes, there'll be belly boarding and things like that. So it's in the development stages. The pilots are running at the end of this month, end of July. Once once we've found some feedback from those pilots, then we can then look to extend it. But what they will include is a lesson plan that Cal has written. We've had some support from some excellent professionals, blue health professionals, mental health first aiders, as well as obviously the environmental side of things, which Cal's amazingly educated in with regards to kind of picking up plastics. You may have heard of her campaign, Paddle Against Plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of, it's all amalgamating into the charity. So it all fits together really well. My role behind all of that has been coordinating and getting it all together and getting us to a point where we can run the pilots. So yeah, we've got, it's a primary school that's joining us in, Land Primary School. We've got nearly 50 children taking part, which is over 2 sessions, which is really exciting. So they'll be arriving at the sailing club, and then they will be having a ground-based lesson first, just to talk about the environment, how they feel, what their previous experiences have been from the water, whether anyone has any preconceived ideas. There'll be some breathing exercises, just to get you, into the mood, and then there'll be stand-up paddleboarding, and I'm sure they're going to have loads of fun. As they go around and experience a stand-up paddleboarding session, they will be being talked to around the kind of things that they can see, what they can feel, animals, plastic, marine life, rubbish, and then it's kind of what can we do about it. It's what's the word? Where you're installing? No. Where you're thinking about kind of what you could do next, really. And so after their sessions, we'll be kind of asking them, well, what could you do next time you go out for a walk? What could you just? What's the word?
It's very early. It's very early in the morning, and we're all struggling to think of what that word might be.
It's just. Oh, I'm going to forget that word.
Right.
Inspiring conversations and thoughts for going forward.
So, what's your experience of the sea? Tell us a little bit about Tell us about you and the sea.
So, growing up, I used to go to the seaside for the odd weekend with my youth group when I was a child, which was lovely. But really discovered the ocean and my love for it about 14 years ago. A friend of ours had bought a surfboard. Now, I lived in Burnham-on-Sea at the time, which has got one of the biggest tidal ranges, and there was certainly no waves. And so we used to get in the car and drive to North Devon, like an hour and a half, 2-hour drive to go for a surf. And I just fell in love with it. The ocean, the cold water, the experience, that stoke you feel, no matter how good you are at something, just being in the white water and splashing around, just being a child again. It's bringing fun and laughter to you, and it's just amazing, isn't it? So really loved it. So I actually moved to the coast, up to my family. We're moving. I can't be away from the water. I need to be closer. So up to move the family, and then we learnt to kite surf. And stand-up paddleboard, and I actually a really huge secret until about 12 months ago, I couldn't actually swim.
Really?
Yes, and it wasn't until someone that I'd been surfing with, and we surfed in some quite strong conditions, and I dropped it in passing that, good job I've only ever had my leash break once. I can't actually swim, and he was horrified, so I learnt to swim last year. As an adult, I could doggy paddle and probably get myself out of trouble, but now I can actually swim. So that's my background.
That's incredible.
I
know. It feels like there's hope for us all, isn't it? When you can hear people and you think people are so accomplished at something and seem so confident at something, and yet there's that little thing that you don't know about them, and you always sort of think everybody else has kind of got it all kind of together, but yet that kind of thing, it shows that you can do things later on in life and break through some barriers and things too.
Absolutely. Now we're sort of sat around the table, so we have other people with us. So we have Jeanette Sheldrick. Say hello, Jeanette.
Hello.
And Katrina Petit.
Hi.
And so we're all on our way to Col to hopefully experience swimming and
It's snorkeling with basking sharks.
sounds like some kind of TV series, doesn't it? Our own take on Top Gear, but with boats and with Basking Shark. But you ladies go swimming anyway.
Yeah.
Round and about Oban. So what is it for you? What does swimming in cold water do for yourselves?
For me, swimming, because I work with people a lot and I tend to give out a lot to people, going for swimming is that switch off and that time for me. When you go in the water, you forget everything else. And even though it feels cold every single time, even when other people think it's warm, that cold just switches you off and focuses you on the now. And I think it's that when you're responsible for a lot of other people, you're always thinking ahead. You're always thinking, oh, can I cover this eventuality? Can I do this? Can I bend this rule? Can I get round that? How do I do this? And that bit when you land in the water and you just go in, and the only thing you can think about is what it feels like round about you, and that feeling in the sea and just swimming, and all your energy just goes on, all your energy and thoughts just go on swimming and enjoying a totally different, the other thing is a totally different perspective from when you're walking on the land or doing anything on the land, and then suddenly you go to this totally different perspective where you see things differently, and I love that.
It's the Seafool perspective.
The Seafool, absolutely. It's just like sort of like unloading everything, so leaving it all on the shore and just sort of being able to get away from it.
You can't take your mobile phone into the water, can you?
Actually, I have a friend who can.
Yeah.
Just one of these, these like cases that you hand around your neck, and it just worries me completely because I can't understand. It's like dry bags. The mystery of dry bags. It's like, how can a dry bag be dry? Really, because it just doesn't make sense.
I'm probably a bit different from most people here who about kind of being on your own and enjoying that time, for yourself and getting in your own head. I love going with a bunch of people, and I love having a giggle, and I love having people I love the inspiration of people who just don't, I wouldn't have thought in a million years go in the water, and just that sense of kind of like, just that sense of achievement. And I love every week being able to kind of encourage people who are really petrified of water or have had some really traumatic experience of water or something like that, and just being able to kind of work out strategies of thinking how can I encourage them a little bit further or a little bit more and things like that, because I think I felt quite underconfident when I first went in the water, and but now meeting lots of other people who have got so many more barriers than me to going in the water, and I just sort of can't believe their tenacity, and it just makes me feel like I just feel a sense of amazing achievement, not for me but for all the other people around me, so that encourages me a lot.
Do you think we're nearly there?
Yeah.
You might be picking up on the... Oh, I think we're there. I think we'd better end this part of the podcast now because we're going to have to get ourselves organised.
Is that the locals? That's the locals, the seals. Yeah.
No. I'm so talkative. The selkies. The mermaid singing.
So around the north end of the island is that the water actually gets very deep, so we tend to get a lot of cetaceans around this area.
Oh, it's that!
Oh.
2 o'clock, 1 o'clock.
We should just be looking at 2 o'clock.
How far?
Where the boat is for
Okay.
That's like might be following us.
You need a friend.
Don't leave it.
So I love what islands are those?
Oh, there it is.
Oh, wow.
The second one because it was further over.
Possibly, yeah. There could be a fair bit of food in the area.
Are they feeding on plankton as well? They're baleen.
The baleen, so they feed on things like krill and smaller fish, so like sand eels and things like that.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So slightly different to the basking shark. So the basking shark's got a slightly different mechanism to feed.
Yeah, there's
so-
two.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, there
Wow,
we go.
see that right up, yeah.
Because they're swimming that direction, aren't they?
Yes, tracking in this direction. So you can
Got
feel
loads.
the birds as well. You can
Got
feel the
ale
birds in
on
that area sort of flying around. And a good sign that there's definitely food about.
Yeah.
There's quite
Yeah,
bit
but
like-
were they really? I'm a bit
You'll be at first.
They've been waiting for you, Maddie.
That's my nightmare, wasn't it? I dreamt it.
But like, would they not fit in the...
when I was studying them, and it just got me right in the face.
Wow.
It's probably one of the worst smells I've ever smelled.
Oh, wow.
So what is it? They actually say about what is it? Where does the smell come from? It's just the...
It's their breath.
Oh.
Yeah, so when it comes out of the blowhole, it's really smelly, just because of the fish that they eat. I imagine a lot of sea animals, marine animals, would have quite smelly breath given what they eat. So a lot of whales actually have really, really stinky breath, but the minke is notorious.
Okay, stinky minky.
Worst
Maybe
of a
that's
bad
why
lot.
they hang about by themselves.
It's not out of choice.
And that's where we're going to leave Kathie and her friends, floating gently in the sea. They were all fine. They did get back to shore and home. We love to hear your feedback on our podcasts, so why not drop us a line, something for the weekend at opentimes.co.uk, or comment on our Instagram or Facebook pages. And if you fancy getting involved with the programme with some original music, please get in touch. That's all for this week. There'll be another new podcast, same time, same place next week. And of course, you can listen to some of our older podcasts at www.opentimes.co.uk/podcasts.